and happy Easter. And also, we know that last week, Passover is going on. What's going on there, right? So, two big festival. Maybe it's not right word. Then maybe holiday. The big holiday, and both are like auspicious holiday. And then during this pandemic time, I try to read those holiday as a good sign. So now on, today is Easter. So now on, I hope situation will get better to better. So this Sunday talk, I would like to talk about one thing. So far, I was asked to talk about what should we do during this kind of hard situation, how to handle ourselves, and also how to control our emotions, like that sort of thing. So today I would like to talk about not about how to keep you safe from this kind of unpleasant situation. So I would like to talk about how we use this unpleasant situation in our spiritual practice. Surely there are many teachings in Buddhism, but there are a few common teachings that appears in Buddhism and also appears in different tradition. So here I want to focus on 3 points, like how you understand world, then how you understand yourself, then how you generate compassion. So these 3 things. So far, as well as I attend to many teachings, we are talking about rareness of human birth or human life. That is one kind of main topic. I don't think it is only main topic in Buddhism. Surely it's important in all religion, right? So that's why in some other religion sacrificing is important. Sort of that thing. They focus on it because they understand that human life is not that rare, not that common, that is very rare, and it's also the best wealth of us, our life. So in Buddhist teacher always saying the human life is much more precious than any kind of gems in this world, right? Any kind of gems. They are talking about a very rare gem, right? Gems like then but when we heard about is rare, definitely a lot of people get confused, right? So what you are talking about, this world is overloaded by population. So what do you mean by it is very rare, right? It is rare. Always when we say rare or not rare is really comparative. You compare with something, right? Then if you compare with the less thing, then it's a lot. But if you compare with other, it's not that lot. It's not that easy. This morning I was hearing about abortion during this pandemic time, right? So it's not that easy to be a human being again. It's not that easy. And also, just being human being, getting humans birth is not enough. You need a good one, right? So these are rare. And then other explanation is not just rare. It's very diligent, fragile. Then we were thinking how it's become fragile, right? So what are you talking about? I'm totally fine. I will stay like 50 more years, or like something like that. You were arguing with that. Then this time we understand how fragile it is, right? How fragile it is. It's our human body is very fragile, easily get sick, easily lose our life. It will take only a few days. We're hearing news all the time, right? So it helps us to convince that these two things, right? I'm not saying I against abortion or I support abortion. Okay, this is other thing. But I'm trying to talk about what is reality, right? So what is reality is in some places population is overloading. In some places they have restrictions. So far we know that in China they have limited on their kids, right? So just think through that way. It's not that it's easy to become human being. And then so in the teaching it's always saying it's rare, then it has very short time. Human life is like a flash of thunderbolt, lightning. So that's funny thing. In Tibetan we have expression like that, saying human life is similar to the time period of cats yawning. I haven't seen that much cats yawning, but it's like that short, right? That when cat yawn, maybe it's like short one. I don't know. Like they're telling it, they're teaching it, they're trying to convince to understand it. But so far it's not that easy to understand that way. But this time, we can understand it clearly. So why it is important, right? Why it is important to know how rareness is it? Why it is important to know how short is it? Very simple. We have to know how rare is it, because we have to give value on our life and other human beings' life. It is not garbage that you could not find place to throw away, right? So it's very rare, and we have to know that. With lack of this understanding, then we are having a lot of problems around the world. Suiciding, big problem. definitely people who do suicide, maybe they have too much knowledge, or I consider most of them don't understand that much about the value of human life. I always trying to tell people, even though you have one more day to live, just think about live, not to die, right? So then that is then being negligent about others' life is also outcome of the ignorance over value of human life. They put the human life and money together. That they try to understand them together. That you just have to choose, like, do I need to save money or do I have to save life? This is not thing that you compare to, put in one scale. That is not right. Definitely human life is much more important. So then why it is important to know it doesn't have that much time. That is very clear. If you think you have too much time, then that is a weakness. That is the weakness. That you have more you have more deeper attachment. We have a lot of attachment because we think we can have it forever. That is the one problem, right? You have that you don't understand these things are just momentarily. You think that will stay there forever, then you are yearning for it whole your life. Just think about a name. People are working whole their life to get name. Then when after they get name, then what? That time is done. Right? Then there are some people who gain name after they pass away. Right? So in Chinese they have, like, I heard Confucius, right? Who start the Confucius teaching. He become well known after he passed away, after many years. Like, then we have a Tesla. So that's what I heard. So these are stories, then some people are working hard. When they get name, then they die after that day, something like that. The name is just example. Buying the huge properties and all these things that you are working so much. I don't mean that we should not work, right? I mean that we cannot hold them as really profound and solid in something that unchangeable. So in that case, so in the Dharma teaching, the first lesson is trying to teach you the value of human life and the shortness of your life. To pursue yourself, not to hold too much attachment on this life and wasting time to do unmeaningful things, and also try to give you the value of time. It's saying it's not that easy. You will not get it again and again. In Buddhism, we say because due to your karma, you cannot get human life again and again. Maybe other religions they could say that, God will not provide you this opportunity again and again, something like that. So anyway, that this is rare. Human life has value, and also need to use it properly. So that is always we are talking in and teaching. Then sometimes there are hard time to understand, but at this time we can learn this thing. Then when we're talking about not holding attachment, right? Or not why it's important holding attachment or not holding attachment, this kind of topic. Sometimes in the Buddhist teaching they focus I feel like a little bit too much on ignorance, but sometimes attachment is really important, because attachment brings everything. Attachment is source of your hatred, source of your ignorance, sometimes, maybe many times. Because when you have strong attachment, you can be crazy, right? So when you have due to your attachment you become blind, then you mess up things. Then later on you realize you are in trouble. Then you I hope nobody will call me. My phone is over there. So due to your attachment, right? Due to your attachment, and then you mess up things. Then later on you understand it, but you could not understand that is happening because of your attachment. Then attachment is so protected that you are finding is problem of somebody else, right? Then you can find like, oh, this guy cheated me, this guy did not tell me, and then they say, oh, I told you. Then you say, I did not hear it. So anyway, you are protecting yourself, your attachment, your desire. Then you are trying to find another problem there. Then it will start, you hate people, you get upset on people, right? That is one example. Story of attachment. Attachment makes you ignorant. Attachment makes you short-tempered. Attachment makes you arrogant. So in that case, and always trying to teach you, we have the name like samsara. It is really important, because meaning of samsara means a circle of life, right? A round of life. So it's going again and again, this thing. And why is trying to call it samsara instead of world or instead of other thing? Because trying to tell us all this kind of drama is going again and again, that you are circling their whole your life in that small circle. So in that case, if you don't have attachment, and then even if you reduce the attachment, right? If you are not following your attachment, and then it will stop to going circle all problems. So then some people got misunderstanding from there. They thought Buddhism is something that drive you away from society, or something that stand against this world. That is wrong. Buddhism never stand against the world, right? It's also not trying to take you away from society. If somebody think that way, that means that person understand only a tiny first part of Buddhism, right? So what is Buddhism trying to teach you? Trying to teach you that even though you are in this world, even though you are in society, not trying to teach you not be driven crazy by those negative emotions. So in that case, the first teaching is not hold attachment. So to teach that, telling you the weakness point of a world, always saying like the world is full of suffering, right? So then they are trying to tell you different sufferings, sort of happily suffering. Happily suffering, it means like you are too happy now that you will get suffering later, something like happily suffering. That's funny word, but they say interchangeable suffering, right? Then pervasive suffering. So it's really hard to digest when you get the teaching for first time, saying like this world is full of problems. What is that? Why is not talking about Pure Land? Why is talking about heaven? Why is talking about the problem at the beginning, right? The first thing is trying to be realistic. That is the first. That's why they're talking about suffering. If they talk about heaven and like Pure Land, there's no problem. The land that such is hard to exist, sort of thing. Then or hard to see, it is not important, right? It's important to talk about what we are seeing, what is in front of you. That's why in Buddhism that focus on suffering, start from where you live, and then trying to teach you not to hold attachment, because where you're holding attachment is not that valuable. That is, kind of nature of suffering. In Tibetan, I think it means that a nature of suffering. Even you are not feeling suffering, it's the nature. Why? Because all those actions are outcome of other negative emotions. So then that is really hard to understand. This kind of looks like theory, but this time, just think about, right? Just think about. Definitely, some people are fighting, wrestling with life or death in hospital, right? Then some people are tested as positive of this disease, but then feel fear and scare, right? So one kind of suffering, right? Then some people might doing negligent currently. They are doing, they are thinking about how to be together with other peoples and where to, get gathering and these kind of things. They might thinking about it. Some might doing it. Who knows, right? So interchangeable suffering, right? They are so happy. Where clearly saw that people have like one good story in New Orleans, right? A month ago in New Orleans, they have what do you call it? Concert, public gathering. They are enjoying festival or whatever. And after a month, a lot of people are suffering, right? So interchangeable suffering start already during that festival. Then the rest of people who were not sick, who were not tested positive, nothing else. Maybe in some of your places, not any cases, but it's still you are not feeling uncomfortable. So that is kind of, pervasive suffering. No matter you feel it or not, but it is there. So that means in this world, it's really important to know this world is samsara, not pure land. Right? So that is really important to know. Then what is it is really good teaching here. Right now we have this the coronavirus, the COVID-19 or whatever you call it. That is like that, it's saying like there is no treatment outside, there is no medicine. It's depend on your behavior, what you do, what you handle the situation. That is Buddhism always talking about, right? When you get sick, prevent from, I am not talking about disease, I'm talking about, right? Kind of the spiritual problem, the problem that, you can face in your life. So there's no outside treatment. It's in your hand. So you have to know how to handle it. That is we are always talking in Buddhism, right? So that is here. You are in samsara. Then you are surrounded with. I'm not talking about disease right now. Okay, I'm talking about in your general life, all those crises you are facing with, you are there. But that time, the one thing that you have is understand the true nature. And then you can change your mind. You can train your mind how to handle, right? If it reach physically to you, that I don't know, maybe you have to run. Remember, we have teachings like if dog come up to you, then there's only two options, fight or run, something like that, right? You cannot talk to dog. You cannot, nothing can be 100% precisely. Maybe some dog can understand the language. But the physical thing, right? Then that's different. Other than that, all those issues coming to you, you can change the situation by your mind training. So that is what teaching in Buddhism, right? So understanding true nature of world or samsara or whatever you call it is first mind training, right? You understand that it is, so then it release it relieve you from freaking out, because that is the nature. What I mean, nature means like that is what it is, right? And then instead of hoping something from outside, first you use what you have. Nobody asks you to pay to change your mind. If you go to see doctor, you have to pay. If you go to a pharmacy, you have to pay. You have to take risk too. A lot of medicine has side effect, right? So, but changing yourself, training your mind, you don't have to do this kind of thing. It's in your hand. And so in that case, This time, it helped to understand true nature of samsara more and more. And we can learn how to handle, our mind. I always saying most important thing is you have to learn how to handle it before get problem, right? If you go to the fight, now they're wrestling or whatever, what do you call it? Like you have something, right? You have, oh, definitely, whatever, UFC or you have something. So before you go there, you have to train, you have to learn how to fight. Then you go there, you fight, right? Something like that. Your mind training, you need it before you get into trouble. A lot of people remember, how to practice karate when they face with fight. That is wrong. Definitely in mind training, you have to train a little bit earlier before you get through situation. But even though you are in the situation, surely it will help to learning how to train listening teaching. So I think that is very important to understand. Otherwise, we like predict or we presume it is like pure land, or it is like nothing is there, everything is 100% perfect. Then you see a little problem, then at that moment you freaking out. Then when you understand these two things, the value of human life and this world is full of problems, and these two teachings understand you how to care, right, yourself and other, and also teach you training mind is really important. You have a lot of due time, right? You have due time for school work, you have due time for your workplace, then you have due time for tax, but you have no due time for spiritual practice, right? So then think through that way. Maybe you have, who knows, but I'm talking about in general way. So that means when we say the human life is short, it is not saying it is short by just time limit. It's saying if you don't handle it well, you never get time to practice. This is one meaning of shortness of life. Then afterward, then this time is the best time to practice your compassion. In the Buddhism, so much Buddhism, but surely when I say Buddhism, you can take it as what you want. Very similar thing. When we practice compassion, what do you need? Always I'm saying you have to understand somebody, there are problems. If you think there's no problem, then what do you do with your compassion? How can you use the compassion? Right, so compassion is not same as love. Love, you can love, in nice, very religious term here a little bit. You can love, who has no any problem. You can love, I will make example. You can love gods or God, but it's funny language. Say I'm compassionate of God or gods, right? Is it funny language in English? I'm not English speaker, so, but in my language, it's really funny. So when you say I'm compassionate of somebody, so that somebody need a little, kind of weakness and kind of, something that can feel the problem or that can, sense it, something like that. So, that's why it's really important to understand the first samsara as nature of suffering, right? So then nowadays we can understand it. Look at the map. Everywhere is like, dots there, trying to tell us this is samsara, this is samsara, this is samsara, right? So it is like that all the time, but this time we are focusing so we can see it, right? So maybe you are a little different from me because people tells me, right? Or somebody passed away, somebody is suffering, right? I can get all this information. So it is always there. Problem is always there. But this time we are convinced that it is everywhere. So then now practice compassion. Right. Practicing compassion is not you also suffer with them. That is not meaning of practicing compassion, right? The practicing compassion is when just share your love for them, dedicate your prayer for them, right? Then feel sorry for them. These are, the part of compassion practice. Instead of staying at home and feeling sorrow at all, just practice your compassion, right? Whenever you heard a bad news, just pray for them, right? You don't have to say, just dedicate, make a wish and feel sorry. So then it will help. And I don't know how much it helps for them. Definitely it will help your mind. That is mind training. Sure, when I drive, when I see the dead animals on the roadside, always pray. Right? So this is always, if you pray even for a few seconds, 2 seconds is good. That teach you how to be compassionate. And this is your practice. Practice doesn't need to be done on a certain cushion in certain room. So when in the Buddhism, right? So okay, so where is time? Okay, in the Buddhism, when they teach how to practice compassion, I will recite here one thing from Lama Chöpa, right? Mume sibara kishi kiawaro dunga sumki gyunshe mebar na negab tenrar gyube mannamki nganzu sanne simjo kepar zö. Right? Mume sibara kishi kiawaro, birth after birth, suffered by 3 different kind of suffering. So you think about these kind of mother beings, then I generate the great compassion and bodhicitta. Right? So this is really important to understand, suffer all mother beings. Then you can develop your great compassion and Buddha mind. So normally we have to try to understand. We are not feeling that from inside. You are feeling everything is so cool, everything is so fine. then you try to practice compassion, and you try to project kind of suffering, then that is not spring up. Then that sometimes it's likely to happen, right? But it's not happening this time, right? This time we understand everyone is back in India, right, in my monastery. Nobody is sick, but it's still they are locked down. They have to worry about like that. It's there. So in that case, just think now this time every single being, from world leaders to whatever it is, all these are not feeling easy. So this time you can share your compassion with anybody. Maybe few AI feeling okay, artificial intelligence, they don't get sick, so maybe they are okay. Other than that, it's not that. So this moment is not time to freaking out, and definitely it's not time to do crazy thing, right? So this time is to understand what is true nature and share your love and dedication and compassion toward. Then maybe this time will go, right? This is like a momentary time. This come and then go. Then don't keep that feeling of understanding. Everyone is vulnerable. In Tibetan, that is Kadamba's practice. Kadamba's are trying to understand all living beings are vulnerable. Or delicate, I mean, right? I don't mean vulnerable. Sometimes, I pronounce similar, these two things, but, all are fragile. All are, so then, you are practice, and then that is really a good time to practice this thing. Then after that, you keep it with your practice. You keep the feeling. You keep strength in your compassion all the time. Then that should be really helpful. Okay, so my time is good. Then from now on, I think from next week, we are doing sort of talk about talk for other day, I think. I'm not sure exactly the time, so you guys know time better than me. Okay, so thank you very much. Then Katie will tell you what's going to happen next week.
Demo Rinpoche is going to be focusing on 4 talks. We've titled it, or he's titled it, Precious Planet, Buddha and Mother Nature. And the focus will go for those 4 weeks. So we look forward to hearing Rinpoche's discussion and teachings about environment and inhabitants.
Thank you very much. And then bye-bye.